Happy Monday, Wiley here. Checking in live. I'm calling these notes from the field, researchers' experiences, because I am working on various research projects. And maybe, hey, some people out here that see this video have had this experience too. And it's not a negative thing. It isn't. It isn't a rant or anything like that. So, one of my research projects focuses on looking and exploring overlooked communities and how overlooked community members create, share knowledge, build communities, encourage, and empower each other. Specifically, when you look at Black communities, how they do this. And so I've been talking to everyday users age 18 and above, as well as podcasters, community organizers, cultural workers. And I have thankfully and overwhelmingly received a lot of participants. I don't take that lightly. I don't say that as a way to brag or be arrogant. I think when I first started the study, I was hoping that I would at least get 10% of my 32 possible participants, and I have interviewed 34 people. And no, I will not be featuring all 32 people in a dissertation. But there have been so many lessons that I have learned. And last night, I had the opportunity to interview a podcaster. And that was because, one, I check my email regularly, and I had reached out to this person. We started corresponding in May, and our last correspondence was July 16th. And I was explaining to this particular participant, because he had written back that he did see my request, but he wanted to tell me that he was not Black. And while I understand that he's not Black, several of my everyday user participants listed his podcast. When I say several, I mean out of the first 12, 9 of them mentioned that podcast. And so I reached out to this particular person to possibly interview them. And so yesterday he responded that he placed himself. I have a Cudlindley account, and he placed himself on the calendar. So at 8 p.m. I was chatting with him. It was a fascinating conversation. It's also interesting when you think about like technology and the fact that he said to me, he doesn't really use email a lot. He uses his cell phone, but I don't have it. I didn't have access to his cell phone, so I wouldn't know that. I don't know this particular person. It was just when I think about like how I got the majority of the participants of my study, I reached out through online groups, through friendships and founders of the groups that I know, and asked could I share my flyer, and then in some cases they recirculated my flyer, which I'm so grateful to them for doing that. And then also sent personalized emails to the podcasters, community organizers, cultural workers. And that has been the experience of trying to find people, or not find them, but trying to get them to respond. And you're not trying to get them to respond. It's most like hoping that they will. And they're a real stranger, because I don't know any of these podcasters. Some of those podcasters are podcasts that I have listened to or I heard about through the participants, or when you Google and you go to Google and you put podcasts in, or you put Black podcasts in, they're the images that show up. So that's how I found some of these, following other pages on Instagram. And like, you say, how did you know to do that? My field is race, digital studies, and intersectionality. And I am a information science PhD candidate. I'm also an engineering and physical sciences research data services librarian. So I'm both sometimes, but in this space, or at least in this example, I am the candidate that is reaching out to people to do these interviews for my dissertation. And it has been a fascinating experience to interview people. And then also to learn that, like with this particular podcaster, he was like outside of his podcast that he does with another creator, or I don't want to say, it's not a co-worker, but another collaborator. He doesn't really check email. He says he doesn't even know how to use YouTube, even though the podcast is on YouTube. Is some earlier posts, and he struggles with posting it. And I don't say that in order to mock him or to be disrespectful. It's just interesting to think about that. And also I think about like the experience of reaching out to others when you're trying to request an interview or collaborate on a project, and how you really don't know their life. You don't know what's going on with them. So sometimes you can send these emails out and it can feel like they're never going to respond, or they're just being, unresponsive, and you really don't know what's happening on the other end. And sometimes it is that they're being unresponsive, and sometimes it's that they have so much going on in their life, their inbox is jam-packed, and at some point they might get to you, and at some point they might not. It is all of the above. What does that teach us? There are multiple truths. And none of them are mutually exclusive. That's what I'm learning in this research experience. Also, the fact that people see the world in so many different ways, so many lenses in which they see the world. Because this particular podcaster is in his 60s. And so when I think about like my participants, the way 18 to 30 have viewed digital experiences and community, the participants that are 42 to 60 see it completely different. Even though some of them are more active, more social, more involved in terms of online communities, online groups, and in their everyday life, and some they use the internet for a specific thing. They use a platform for a specific thing, and after that, they just disconnect. And I can say that's the same thing that some of the participants that have been 18 through 30 say. It's been the most fascinating experience of my life to do this study. I feel so much gratitude for those that have allowed me to talk to them and to hear about their experiences, what online community means to them. Specifically when you ask them about what factors trust in information in online communities, and how have their preferred platforms changed, and what their preferred platforms are, and what information do they look for most. Those have been fascinating questions to hear what their experiences are and what they like. Like, how do they build community? How do they nurture connections? As well as how do they experience exclusion, and what makes an online space feel safe? And I'm having so much fun because research is like a playground for me. I'm never bored, and I'm enjoying it. And now I'm in the experience of coding these interviews. I've also been presenting at conferences. And I continue to finish coding these interviews. I'm shooting for 12. I've done seven-ish. And I'm also doing the video analysis of podcast episodes. So, yay. I say yay like that because when I look at what my summer has been, it's been an experience of traveling, family, friends, fun things, and writing. And writing pretty much might as well be bae. We spend so much time together. But I'm learning, and that's been fun. And I just was thinking about, that's really interesting to think about how many times I've sent emails to people to participate in a study or for collaboration, and you really don't know what's going on the other end. And sometimes I've made assumptions about, oh, they didn't, and the reality is I'll never know. And some people responded much later, and some people never responded at all, and I never know. So it's an adventure. Research is that you learn new things each and every day. And that's my tip. I hope that you're having a good day. I hope you're doing everything you can to take care of yourself and be the very best version of you that you can absolutely be. I am Wiley, your favorite information scientist in training and your favorite librarian. I hope you're taking care of yourself. Be good to yourself. Peace.